Will DSOs dominate, destroy, debilitate private practices over the next decade? Before I even get into who this famous celebrity is with me, I want her to answer a question, and then we are going to dive into this spicy topic. So, Debra, yes, no, maybe so. Will DSOs destroy private practices over the next 10 years?
No.
No. Okay. I like that answer. I'm going to talk about why. So now I want to get into who you are and the amazing things that you do. We're here on Dental Nachos Live with our whole Dental Nachos community. I've got to hang with you in person and on Zoom. You do so many things to help our dental world. So I know that many people know you, but just in case it's the first time they are seeing Debra Engelhardt-Nash, tell us what you do every day to help dentists survive, thrive, and not cry inside.
Oh, I appreciate that. I've been in the industry probably 40 years. I was thinking about that today. Coaching, teaching, writing. Used to work for a major consulting firm out of California. I was their Pacific Northwest rep, so I covered California, Idaho, and Washington and Oregon State. So I had a pretty wide territory. In 1985, they started changing the way they were working with their clients, and it became a little too cookbook for me, a little too cookie cutter. And I decided that I really wanted to customize my processes with my clients, depending on what they wanted. Some doctors need 10 days, some need 2. Right. Some need a couple hours, some need hand holding. So I didn't want somebody to have to, square peg round hole. If this is, if you couldn't comply with what the contract read, you weren't right for the consulting company. So I started my own company in 1985. Been doing it ever since. I sort of mentioned that writing, speaking. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 1994.
Oh, awesome.
Married a Southern bald, cosmetic aesthetic focused dentist. Not in my interesting, not in my bandwidth to ever do that. He actually hired me after we became a couple to come into his practice, and I doubled his net in the first year.
Wow.
He decided to keep me on.
I want to actually so we have some questions we'll get to in what I call our sitcom link sharing, but I always like to interject with good ideas. Many times dentists say, I need someone who's a dentist. I need someone who's done this. But just back in those days, your own husband, the famous Ross Nash, who's helped so many dentists transform smiles, brought in you, a non-dentist. What do non-dentists sometimes see that dentists miss? You doubled his net. I mean, why didn't he do that before you were there?
Because he was busy. He was doing what he loved, and that was being at the chair. So I think, and actually what has been said in the past, a great clinician, poor communicator may not be as successful as a poor clinician, great communicator. So Ross is a great communicator. He's a great clinician. The business, the business of dentistry was not it was not his passion. I
don't know why, Debra. They have all those great business classes in dental school that teach you about. Nope, just memorizing the Krebs cycle over and over again. And
there you go.
Now, oh, go ahead.
Well, we talk about this, and I think one of in Ross's, of course, interesting. We could talk about Ross. I call him all kinds of names, but he was taken to peer review twice in his early career for doing cosmetic and aesthetic dentistry. Won both times, but he was very cavalier. The advantage that he has is not only is he a brilliant dentist, he cannot change a roll of toilet paper, but he's a brilliant clinician. But he is a great communicator at the chair. And here's the dilemma for me, and this would be a whole other topic. I have 6 killer questions that a dentist should ask a patient, but Ross is a great communicator. Most dentists do not learn. You talk about dental school. What sort of classes did you take in how to communicate your treatment plan to your patient? How do you introduce comprehensive care to the patient? You're taught nothing. And 85% of the time that we spend with patients is in communication to get to the 15%, which is clinical application.
I love that concept. If people text Debra to 215-798-9897, we'll connect you with Debra. Would you be able to tell them those 6 questions or point them in the right direction?
Absolutely. I can even send it to them. I actually wrote an article I'm speaking in Florida, and I wrote an article pertaining to the 6 killer questions to get your patients to say yes. I was at the Greater New York Dental Meeting, and I spoke after Marty Jablow, who was talking about radiographs. He was talking about Prexion. And he was saying, before you can diagnose the treatment, you have to have a radiograph. And so I came on after him and I said, before you have a radiograph, you have to have a conversation.
Yeah, right.
So,
I think there should be much more training on that in school where they totally say, this is how you do the crown prep. This is how you talk about the crown prep. And you got to be able to do both to be successful. Now we're going to go back to our topic. So you and I were talking behind the scenes about this spicy topic. So how are private practices going to stay relevant in a world where DSOs are looking to buy the best practices, where DSOs are looking to take the business hassle off the dentist's plate? We can talk about whether they do that or not, but the pitch to a dentist is sell to this DSO. We'll take care of all the stuff you don't want to do. You keep doing what you do want to do. I know it's way more nuanced, but if you're a private practice dentist, what should you do to stay relevant?
Wow. Well, I think if you're a private practice dentist, you obviously you're going to be in a niche. You're going to have to create a niche practice or niche practice if we want to be like uber French. And you have to think about, if you think about the difference between a Target or a Nordstrom and a boutique clothing store. You have to, I think, model what a boutique clothing store looks like, acts like, sounds like, talks like. I cannot. I have to have, finer clothes. I have to have a finer interior. I have to have customer service that is an all-time high. I have to constantly be a step above and what I call potential behavior. I think that DSOs have their place. They can be generic and augmented behavior, but if I want to be in private practice dentistry, I have to tell myself I'm going to be a boutique practice and I have to behave like a boutique office. And I have to market myself in such a way that that people are going to know what makes me different. So
I love that. I love that share, and I agree completely because everybody is inconsistent, you and I included, because dentists may say, I would never go to a DSO, but they show up at a CVS to buy stuff all the time. And a CVS is a DSO of pharmacies. And I had a good story about how it was raining once and I went to the private practice pharmacy and I bought a $15 umbrella. That would have been $9 at CVS. And then sometimes I go to CVS. The thing with dentistry is, Debra, and I think it's important to point out, is most people really just go to one dentist. They make a choice. They don't say, hey, I'm going to go to a DSO if I need a crown on number 20 and then go somewhere else for sleep apnea. Some do, but I love your idea of creating a niche for yourself of what you do well, whether it's clear aligners, implant dentistry, or cosmetics. I want to ask you this next. Mm-hmm. What do private practices get wrong, right? Sometimes people say, yeah, nothing better than private practice. And I go, when was the last time you did an OSHA training? They go, what's that, right? And I say, so what do private practices get wrong? We'll go to what they get right next. What are they getting wrong in your traveling around the world helping practices?
Lack of training. They don't train. They don't have training protocols. They don't have the accountability factor that DSOs have. And I think that's major, that they're not as systemized and as organized.
I mean, DSOs are looking at numbers and systems constantly. And I heard your awesome presentation at Bulletproof. And one of the things we both talk about is what they get wrong is, just so we can continually add value to my audience. How often do they get wrong how they answer the phone, Debra?
They get it wrong all the time.
And what's an example? If someone said, I was just at a meeting today, sitting across from a dentist, and he's closing on his practice next month. And I gave my cell phone number. I said, it's not easy. So he's going to take over this practice. He's had no phone training skills. What are some things a dentist, if they hear this at their front desk, they got to change? If they hear this at their front desk, they got to call you.
Oh, that's great. I was doing a Zoom meeting this morning with an office on treatment presentation, and they have a horrible attrition, this office right now, horrible attrition. And I was like, how are you going to get out of this slump? But one of the couple of things that happened, phone calls, so many times as a patient, I call your office, I say, I'm calling to make an appointment for new patient examination. And the first question is, what insurance do you have? It's like, right. And then we wonder why the patients become focused on insurance. We brought it up. We were the first ones to mention it. So now we spend 10 minutes on, oh, you have Delta Plan 2000. Well, here's how we handle Delta Plan 2000. And you have this kind of allowance, and you have this maximum, and you have a $50 copay, and this is what they'll cover, what they won't cover. We don't even get into the customer service aspect of what we do. It's all about the rules and regulations. The other thing I oftentimes say is we oftentimes tell the patients what we expect from them. And we need to turn that around. We should be letting the patient know what they can expect from us. Right. So we say, bring in your insurance card, arrive 15 minutes early. You're going to send you your forms, make sure that you fill them out. And we give them all the rules and regulations of being a part of the practice. And that is not a niche practice at all. Right. That is not. And so we were talking at this office, and Jessica, the hygienist, was saying that, how does she explain if the patient asks about discounted fees or anything? And her first comment was, I'm sorry, but.
Yeah, right.
And I just, the hair on the back of my head just bristles when a team member says, I'm sorry, but we can't do that for you. I mean, you've just lost me. I'm done. Yeah. I'm dead. The other thing that happens is oftentimes when a patient calls and says, could you tell me how much you charge for a new patient exam and cleaning and radiographs? And the person at the front desk answers the phone and says, oh, I'm sorry, I really can't quote fees over the telephone. If you want to know, what the fees will be, you'll have to come in for a new patient exam and x-rays, which is a bait switch. Right. I can't tell you anything. You're going to have to come in, as opposed to opening the conversation, saying, I'd be happy to discuss our fees with you. Before I do, may I ask you a few questions?
Right.
How did you choose us?
I've learned a lot from you, and maybe, when I love these games, I have role playing with my team. When someone says, do you take my insurance? I train my team to say, that's a great question. A lot of people ask us that. The way dental insurance works, it works a lot like a coupon. We do the best job possible to maximize the benefit of your coupon. Meanwhile, I'm not talking about Delta. I'm not talking about this.
Yeah.
With the discounted fees, I would say that's a great question. We have a membership club here. And one of the things we do is we have the opportunity for you to save. Would you like to hear more about it? I think, exactly. Dentists are taught to weirdly be defensive about a lot of things for the customers. I mean, if dentists tried to get people to go into other stores, they would wonder why nobody was coming in. So I love that front desk phone training get wrong. Now tell us, what do private practices get right? What should they keep doing? What's really a hallmark of a signature awesome thing about private practices as you work with these groups?
I think what they get right is the culture of teamwork. I really think that, there's so many times that it's kind of mom and dad, or it's a very fraternal, maternal, yes. Paternal, and the team truly feels that they are cared for. They feel like if they are having personal issues, which, we used to say this before most of you people were born, leave your problems at the door. We can't ask our team to leave. They're going through a divorce. They have a child who's quite ill. We can't say, leave your problems at the door, forget it. No, bring it to us. We will nurture you. So I think nurturing is what private practices get right. I think nurturing, because now if I know that if I'm trusted and respected, I will endorse, and that's one of my big words. You heard me say that. I am a huge fan of it as the responsibility of the team, and it should be intrinsic in them because of the way they feel while they're working for this office, is to endorse the doctor. Doctors, except for a few that we know, doctors don't walk into an operatory and say, damn, I'm good. You're so lucky to be here. Let me tell you all about me and how great I am. But a team member can. So I think in private practice, we endear our team to us. And for that reason, they endorse and sanction us.
And I love what you're saying. And, there's a couple of things I'll share. There's some great restaurants in Philadelphia, world class. And one restaurant is Greg Vernick's restaurant, and it's a signature restaurant. And he's pretty much the owner operator of that restaurant. He has other chefs there. He also does have a corporate style dining for Comcast Center. And those are wildly different vibes, right? When we go to Vernick, we expect to feel like this owner operator thing, this teamwork. And then if we go to the Comcast Center, so I think what you've shared is so key, that private practices, the camaraderie of working with an owner operator, leverage that. You're going to see these three doctors when you come here. We're proud to have these three doctors in this team. They do this. I think that's key. And I think as a team, I saw on Nachos, and we'll get to the DS in a minute, someone said, what does your DSO do for a holiday party? That's only asked because someone's annoyed that their DSO's getting them the Pretzel of the Month Club, right? So I know where that's coming from. And I hear people type back, oh, we have to figure it out at our own office, or we don't even know what headquarters do. So without judgment, I think if you're a private practice, really leverage that. I love what you said, that teamwork, that you're a
I
family.
think I have to use one of my team offices when I say, can I tell you once again, everyone should have a story. That goes back to the Simon Sinek, starting with why. Yeah. What's your story? So as a dental assistant, and hygienist, and treatment coordinator, when I say, can I tell you a little bit about my doctor and why I'm here? And I remember that one of my assistants in Eugene, Oregon, she was telling the patient how great Howard is. And the patient was kind of glib, and he said, oh, I bet he pays you to tell me this. And Christy turned around and said this. She said, you know what? He pays me to be here, but he has earned my trust and respect.
I love that.
I mean,
that's
talk
great.
about validating the doctor. She said, oh, no. He's earned this. He's earned what my trust and my respect, not only because the way he treats our patients, but the way he treats me.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's the stuff.
And I think that's what private practices get right.
Yeah, and those don't show up on KPIs. They don't. That is something I call ROI, relationships, opportunity, and impact, in addition to return on investment. So those there are. Now let's move.
Well, except let me go back. I want to, so
keep going.
Back in the day, when we started talking about production collections, we started talking about analytics. That's before Dental Intel, that's before Blue IQ, that's before any of them. And boy, team members would cross their arms and say, I'm here for healthcare. I'm not here to do this. And I said, okay, can we measure whether or not you're doing the right thing for your patient? Can we measure? Can we quantify it? We can. If you're doing the right thing, what's going to happen? Your patients are going to come back. That's called recall. Your patient's going to accept the treatment. That's called acceptance. That's called production. They're going to pay their bill. That's called collections. They're going to refer their friends. That's called growth. So can I quantify whether or not I'm treating my patients well? Yes, I can. I can, analytics will tell me whether or not.
Yeah. Oh, I like that part of it. I just, I think that to replicate that great line that your team member said, it comes from those relationships. Now let's talk about DSOs. Now, every DSO is different, just like private practices, right? But one of the myths I think that private practice dentists need to pay attention to is Rodeo Dental is one of our Job Connect clients. They have 50 offices. They're run by two guys that are my age. And I went to their associate day, Debra, and someone walked right up to me, reminded me of someone awesome like you. And she had on one of these great cowboy outfits or Texas outfits. And she said, I need to meet you. I love Dental Nachos. I think my name's Rose. They hired me from the Ritz-Carlton to make customer service better here. So some of these DSOs are paying attention to this. But let's talk about, what do DSOs potentially get right and wrong? What are some things you see that they're getting right? We maybe talked about systems and numbers, but what are they not getting so right?
I think once again, they're very systemized. They have management. They've got a manual. They make sure that they are totally in compliance, and they have a great training. They have great training protocol. When I come in, here's the other situation, and we can go talk the right and wrong thing. Oftentimes, general dentists will hire somebody who, quote, has dental experience because they think they're a turnkey employee. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a turnkey employee. You've got to train. My years of experience, if you hired me, you'd have to train me to your systems, to your management style, to your protocols. I think DSOs figure that out. We've got to have a training protocol. I think so. I think they have that right. I think what they have wrong is they monetize it too much. Any strength taken to excess becomes a weakness.
I love that.
And I'm monetized way too much. And I think there's a lot of doctors who are frustrated. Some clients who I have who were part of a DSO. And once again, you said there are good models and there's not so good models. And some of them have left and said, it's hard for me to have a regional manager who has no dental experience, no clinical skills, telling me what I can and cannot do clinically when they're not a dentist and they're trying to dictate my treatment plan. That's wrong. Or they're telling me one of the ways I'm going to cut costs is not one of the things that DSOs have right is buying power. You've created that. They have amazing buying power, which, unless I'm part of Dental Nachos or part of some other buying group, I don't have. But I think once again, the strength of management taken to excess becomes a weakness of management. I think you've got to give, if you want to keep the dentist there, I think it's important that you give me some freedom to be.
I want to add in. So what I was going to add for what don't get right enough or get wrong is I have two general dental associates, and I know that if they were going to move on from my office for a good reason, Debra, whether they're going to buy their own practice or move across the country, they would genuinely feel bad. They would say, Paul and Jeff, our owners, are going to be stuck without me. And they would come in and say, hey guys, I'm moving on, but I feel bad. I don't think a lot of associates for DSOs feel bad when they leave. And
I think a lot of them see that as a launching pad. They see, I'm out of school, I'm in debt. Here's my launching pad, and I'm gonna work here for a while. I think it's a churn and burn, and they create a churn and burn environment.
I think the associates can feel disconnected from the leadership, and they're the ones producing the dentistry each day. So as we get to our last kind of 8 minutes here, why is it important for dentists at any age or stage to invest in themselves with CE and coaching? One of the things, as you think about this, Debra, is some dentists say, I'm 20 years in, why train my team on how to answer the phone? Or I'm 15 years in, why go to the Nash Institute and learn? Why is constant investment in yourself so key to happiness, profit, happy team members? I think dentists need to be reminded of that. What's the Debra Engelhardt-Nash answer?
Well, do you want to stay relevant or do you want to be obsolete?
Anything. Oh, I'm sorry. No, sorry.
Yeah, you want to stay relevant, you want to be obsolete. I mean, I think here's my husband who's been in dentistry. I mean, he sold his practice 2 years ago. He's working 3 days a week. And how he's really into all this technology, the 3D printers and scanning and in-office crowns. And what if he had said, I don't need to do that. I already have my accolades behind me. I don't need to learn this stuff. Well, his practice is going to be obsolete. I was telling somebody just like last week, and I said, man, if you are not current in technology, social media is our friend and our enemy, our friend and our foe. Our patients, our clients are reading on social media. They're reading what's available. They're reading about current trends in dentistry. Man, I better stay current if I want to attract, once again, if I want to have a niche practice and I want to invite and entice the kind of patient that I'm looking for, man, I better be current. I have to stay.
Right.
So, and the other thing I think that happens in continuing education, and whether it be, I don't know if Facebook education is as strong as in-person education, is the collaboration with my peers. Yeah. I think that's critical. I think being able to cheer and complain. Russ was on the phone last night at 10:30. I said, who are you talking to? He said, Larry Rosenthal. It's at 10:30 at night, and they're talking about these, two old guards are talking about their practices.
I think that's awesome because, I was at an event today and I was giving my talk and I said, being the owner of a dental practice, working in a dental office, it's like being the parent of a child that never grows up. It's sometimes awesome, sometimes annoying, and it's always exhausting. And it's totally okay to vent with the goal of getting better, right? And I think that, you're so right. When you go to in-person events, you get a renewed energy. You get people who get you. And as much as I love what we're doing here on Zoom for 30 minutes, I encourage people to do that. Now,
well, I want to say I did this treatment presentation training with a group of dentists on Saturday. I don't know if they got it. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there to feel, to get the reaction. I think they got it. I got nice feedback, but I think it's also different. But I think
it's funny, Debra. I'm not sure, but it was more during the pandemic. Like people could watch exercise classes on Zoom, but you could be like eating a donut. The instructor doesn't know what you're doing. But if you're in a gym together in a small group fitness class, you're the shame is a bad word. You're inspired by the people around you to be engaged in the learning process.
I will also say, we're talking about education. It frightens me if I'm interviewing a team member and I say, and if they come off with an attitude of, there's nothing new that I need to learn. Well, I'm not going to hire that person.
Right.
If they think that they've got it all. I mean, when I started going in working in dentistry, we didn't have computerized scheduling. And when they talked about it, we said, oh, no, we're not going to computerize our schedule. Then we had to get people to go paperless or chartless, if you will. And there was a big freak out about going chartless. The good news and the bad news about dentistry is it's constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. And I have got to stay relevant if I'm going to be attractive to a consumer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. My final question is, you work with offices of all sizes. We run Dentist Job Connect. People can text hire to 215-798-9897 to hire an associate. You've worked with many practices. I'm a solo GP. This is my baby. No other dentist could work here. Then they hire an associate, and next thing you know, they're taking off, their practice is covered, they're adding extra services. Where have you seen private practice collaboration, associates being added to practices? Have any of your clients been doing it more? Do you see private practices growing? Tell us about the associate world from the Debra Nash perspective.
I think associate. I think here's the good news and the bad news. Once again, I think associate are in private practices is growing. Dentists are having a hard time finding associates. It's interesting. I know there's big conversations on Dental Nachos about how to find the associates. I think that they realize once again that, man, if I can add to the schedule, if I can add to the days, if I can add to hygiene, if I can add services that my associate can bring in to the practice, so that I can diversify what we do with someone else. I think people are seeing that as and once again, how we can leverage our practice. We can extend hours if we wanted to. I don't have to work as hard. And
one of my best Job Connect clients, he has a great video, Debra, Dr. Ankur Gupta. He said, I would go on vacation and I'd come home, and Sunday night I would have anxiety of what I was facing after my vacation. He goes, now that I have an associate, I don't feel that way, because in some ways dentistry is awesome, but in some it's very annoying. You take a week off. Oh, it sounds great, but you know that there's denture problems and crown problems and this just waiting for you on Monday morning. And in most other jobs, to be honest, most other 6-figure plus jobs, there is a team around you, whether it's business or finance or engineering, where you don't have 87 emergencies. So with an associate, I also think it can help you enjoy your vacation. I don't know if you agree.
I agree. And I also think if we get down to basics, if I'm a solo practitioner and I have a team and I'm going to take 2 weeks off, am I paying them? What am I doing with these people?
I love that. I asked that last night and I said, you know what's crazy about dentistry? I call it like it is. There's great points and there's not so great points. I was on a webinar. I said, raise your hand if you would work less, but your team has to be paid. And almost everyone raised their hand. So these dentists are working these days because they're such good people to their team. They go, well, my team can't get paid. But imagine if you just had a 2-day-a-week associate who could then cover for you. So I don't know why dentists get stuck in their own boxes. I know you would do a great job unlocking that box. So I want to share at the end here. Oh, go ahead, Debra. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say I had a client in upstate New York, and she is, now we get into a whole other topic about insurance, but she's pregnant with her first child, and she's got over 2,500 patients. But she wrote off $450,000 last year is with insurance write-offs. I said, how about if you could work 3 days a week and enjoy your new baby, and enjoy being a mom, and make more money by really restructuring your dental practice. I think sometimes I think that's one of the things the DSOs have done, is they have sat down and said, let's create a structure. And sometimes doctors get out of dental school and they don't know how to create a structural practice. That was Ross. He went and started doing dentistry. That's what he did. He didn't structure.
I think that's so key. There's so much creativity, but you can't get stuck inside of your own rut. So Debra, people can reach out to you. They can text Debra to 215-798-9897. I so appreciate you sharing this wisdom, but is there a website or email if someone's listening in their car to this and said, I need to talk to Debra. My team needs phone training help. I need to increase my profitability. I want to maintain my private practice. How can they reach out to you?
And I want to say one thing about that. They can text me at my number. They can email me at Debra Engelhardt-Nash@gmail.com. I also want to mention, and you and I talked about that, I am part of an organization that's been around for 63 years called the Academy for Private Dental Practice. Oh, awesome. And a lot of people don't even know that it exists. And it is all about making sure that we are perpetuating private practice dentistry. So the meeting this year is March 7th through 9th in Fort Lauderdale. Happy to send on that information as well. But there is an organization that is actually driven to perpetuate private practice.
I think we need that, because whether you are love DSOs, hate DSOs, in the middle, they do a lot of work for DSOs, and we need to do it for there's the DICOM event I go to, there's the women in DSO. And when you look at private practice, so please have my team share that and know what that is. That's getting March 7th through 9th in Fort Lauderdale. What's the name of the conference?
It's the Academy for Private Dental Practice.
Awesome.
63-year-old organization. A lot of people don't even know that it exists. And it's all about perpetuating private practice dentistry.
Love it, Debra. You shared so much. Stick around for a minute. Dental Nachos crew, you've learned from the amazing, super fun, super talented Debra Engelhardt-Nash. Thanks so much, Debra.
Thanks.